And literally all it takes is like the one or two pro players in Overwatch League to start complaining about, one thing, two things about the game, and then
Yep.
everybody hops on that train, and
Yep.
because it's so easy to follow that and say, yeah, this is the issue, this is the issue, and then it becomes the dev's problem.
With Valorant just releasing, and a lot of players leaving, even I guess in the pipeline, there's even rumors that Overwatch League players are even thinking about leaving. Um, Obviously, we see it in the tier 2, tier 3 scene. It's like, at least 30, 40 players have already, dropped out. How do you feel about Overwatch League and its growth moving forward? And is it still worth pursuing a career both as a player and as a manager? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's totally still worth it. Here's the thing, man. When you have an esport that's been out for like what? How long has Overwatch been out for? 4 or 5 years?
Yeah,
Maybe a little bit less or a little bit more.
Mhm.
I think whenever a new title comes out, everybody that's not already benefiting from like esports in that, like,
Right.
when it comes to Overwatch, like, they're not
In that
getting
regard.
paid, they don't see any return on their investment, they're gonna
Right.
hop off the train. Like, it's just
Right.
that's with anything, man. Even when I was playing League for about 4 years, I was trying to go pro in that game, and I wasn't benefiting. I wasn't really that close. But I saw Overwatch come out, and I was like, okay, brand new slate, brand new opportunity. I hopped off the League train, and I, started Overwatch.
Right.
Um, that's with anything, man. Like, even watch in another 4 or 5 years, Valorant's gonna be like the super detailed esports. Another title comes out, people that are
Right.
trying to pursue Valorant are gonna hop off. They're gonna be like, I'm,
Right.
I'm sick of this. I'm done. It's with anything, man. Yeah.
Right. For sure.
Everybody's always got something to complain about, really, especially in this
That's true.
industry, especially in this industry.
Oh, you have no idea. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Whether whether it's the meta, whether it's the devs, whether it's the game that they're playing, everything. Everybody's got something to complain about. Whatever, man. I'm just sick of hearing it. But yeah,
I 100% agree. I coming from like the background that I have, it's just like, I don't know. I think just like leaving is just the easy way out. I mean, sometimes
totally.
people have their reasons and they're justified, right? I feel like, but I know a lot of times for me, knowing Blizzard as long as I've known Blizzard for, a lot of times, and I hope I'm not offending anyone, but a lot of times people who are in Overwatch, they aren't Blizzard fans, they're just Overwatch fans. And for me, I come from a background of Blizzard titles, so I'm like, I'm here for it. I love it. I thrive for it, and everything that comes with Blizzard, whether it's the political stances that they've taken over the last 6 7 months, with Hong Kong and everything, or it's just poor balancing or good balancing, whatever it could be. A lot of times players like to use that as an excuse of why they're not going to pursue something
Exactly.
long.
You nailed it.
So
You nailed it.
so for me, I like to. My dad liked to say, I have a quote. He used to say, "Don't count time, make time count,"
Yep.
and that's something that's just always stuck with me. And it's always he's always related back to, um, control what you can control, and it just goes back to, I can't control what Jeff Kaplan decides to do with Mercy, or whether he wants to change Mercy to a DPS or to a tank. I can't control that. So what I can control is how, like you were saying, how much I study the game, how much I practice with my team, how much I can, you know, increase my odds with my team to be successful. But there's a lot of times where players that are joining that Valorant hype train are like, they're trying to control things that are uncontrollable. And for me, I mean, this may sound wrong, but the players that are leaving, I'm like, it just gives guys like in my position more opportunities. Um,
Totally does.
so I'm definitely looking, like, I agree with you. I don't think Blizzard is going to let their multi-million-dollar investment go
No.
down the drain because of a new game that just is only in beta. They're just not. A lot of teams put 30, 40, 50 plus $1 million. That's just for the franchise fee, not including salaries and all that, the infrastructure operational costs. Um, so for me, and eventually one day after my, God willing, after my playing career, I would love to own a team one day. Like, that's something that I have my sights on, in the next 10, 15 years or something, is something that I would love to own my own franchise. So yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think I think pursuing Overwatch and Overwatch League in general is still a great career path. Um, and with COVID-19 and everything, I think that's just once everything starts simmering down a little bit, I think that's just going to ignite an even bigger fire, not only just in Overwatch League but just in esports in general. So
It's so
that's
much
kind of like
it's so much bigger than like gaming itself, like in
Mhm.
terms of like the way people are. I think it has to do with
Right.
just our society and culture today. It's all about me, and if I'm not getting what I want, then I'm going to use my social platforms to get what I want. You know what I mean? Like to just complain about the
Yep.
devs. And literally all it takes is like the one or two pro players in Overwatch League to start complaining about, one thing, two things about the game, and then
Yep.
everybody hops on that train. And
Yep.
because it's so easy to follow that and say, yeah, this is the issue, this is the issue, and then it becomes the dev's problem. I'm telling you, I've been on both sides. I
Hmm.
haven't been a dev, but I've been a pro
Right.
player, and now I'm not playing.
Right.
I think it's so easy to just point the blame at the devs, at the game companies, that it's their fault. It's just, honestly, man, I'm so sick of hearing it. I've heard it all the time, especially from like players that are at the highest level, still
Right.
complaining, still not willing to deal
Ah,
with what's been given to them. You know what I mean?
and I
I
think
don't get it.
I guess for me, and I love that you brought that up because whether I was like a Heroes of the Storm aspiring pro, as an Overwatch aspiring pro, and then also as a soccer aspiring pro,
Yeah,
being from someone that is constantly trying to go up the hill, and you just get all the mud just thrown at you, everything just thrown at you, and to continue pushing you down the hill. Once you reach the top, like you said earlier in the podcast, there's no role models, and when the role models are saying, "Hey, look,
yep.
devs, can you please like change this? Like this game sucks. Like this game effing this and effing
Yeah.
that." It just does not set a good. And I think for me, one of my main missions in esports is to change the culture that surrounds it. And I feel like, and I know a lot of like this is kind of like the phase one transitioning into phase two of esports athletes. I hope by the time phase three, phase four comes out, when there's already a strong foundation, that mindset of, oh, let's blame the devs for everything, or oh, let's blame this for everything. And like I said, people are always trying to control the uncontrollable, and it's just the way it is. I think a lot of times when I know, like, even past teammates that I've had that complain about something in the game mid practice, it just brings like
Yeah.
it,
100%.
it brings the
Yeah.
whole tone down. And
This
it's
hero's
it's
OP,
frustrating.
this and that, and think about it,
Yeah,
man.
like
Think about it in football terms. It's like a wide receiver just not being able to run as fast as the QB's throwing the ball, and he's complaining to the NFL, being like, "Bro, there's too many yards on the field, man. Like they got to shorten the field. The field's
yeah,
too big." Like, what are you talking about? Like,
yep, yep,
I'm sorry, but you sound like an idiot. You do.
yeah.
Like,
I
when people say
agree.
that, and
I
that's what
agree.
these players are sounding like. And you
Yep.
get it, man. Like there's those two players. Whoever's performing well at the game is essentially the role model in the scene.
Right. Right.
And whatever they say is everybody's so heavily
It
influenced
goes.
by it. So yeah,
Right.
totally.
And
Yeah.
I think it also even goes to successful content creators
Yep.
that
Yeah.
constantly, I don't know, I'm all for everybody having an opinion. That's fine. But what I like to do is, like, if you're going to say at least one bad thing, at least try to give, I don't know, another good thing. Like, at least try to balance it out. But when you're just constantly, and I'm sure they very well love Overwatch or just love the esport or their gaming that they're in. But when you set the precedence of, okay, hey, look, I hate this. So now everyone, all my 300, 400, 4,000, whatever it could be, followers or
Yeah.
viewers, you also have to hate this with me. And, and I think one of the things that is such a problem is the Twitch culture. I love my,
Oh
my
yeah,
lol, I
yeah.
love my forehead, I love my kappa, like all
Your
that stuff
Pepe
is
hands
great.
and all that.
My Pepe hands, I love that
Yeah.
stuff. But for me, I feel like Twitch culture has literally, well, maybe not yet, but it is ruining the culture of gaming, and not even just in esports, but just gaming, casual, competitive, whatever in general. I don't know. I feel like
No, I agree, man. You're
it's
yeah,
something.
I agree, man.
It's just something that's like just like reading, because keyboard warriors, they're always going to be a thing. And I'm not saying like, oh, I have thin skin or anything like that. Like if I read like KYS or Kill Yourself, like, okay, like,
Yeah.
okay, that's fine. I come from the modern warfare 2 days of Rust. Like, you're not. nothing what you say is
Oh,
going
those lobbies were the days, man. Prime time.
prime time. But I think Twitch culture needs to change. I think the esports culture needs to
Yeah,
change,
totally.
and that's why I like going back to what I was saying. I think if you have and maybe not necessarily you need to have a traditional sports background, but something that whether that's Boy Scouts, whether that's chess club, whether that's or Girl Scouts, whether whatever it is, I feel like you need that foundation just because esports is just so new. And when you have coaches that are 15 years old, great for them, like they're pursuing with their passions, but still a very young scene. So hopefully it changes over the years. But when you have your role models, your content creators on Twitch, on YouTube, or just in the Overwatch League or LCS in general, not even creating content, and they set that tone on social media, I think it doesn't help the problem at all. Yes, can there be balance changes? Absolutely, to any game. But when people, it's like in esports, there's a problem in cancel culture.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Um, I I really don't know. I feel like for me, I was always taught like, hey, if you're blessed, bless others. That was just something that I was always taught, and it's hard for me to really like try to bring down someone's character, someone's whatever it could be, and I feel like that's a problem, and I feel like it could be because the scene is so immature in the sense of age and even gender, because it's predominantly all guys, all sweaty guys in a locker room, right? So
Yeah.
hopefully it starts swaying, a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, start centering itself of what esports identity is. And so that was kind of like another reason why I love to reach out to you and be like, hey, I would love to be on this podcast, is to show a different perspective. Like, hey, just because the vocal minority is on Twitter or on Twitch or on YouTube
Yeah.
saying these things, in my opinion, I genuinely do not believe that there is a majority of people who hate Overwatch or who hate League or who hate the devs of whatever game they could be. I feel like that's a very small vocal minority. So